So, thank you very much again for your attention and attendance. Bernard, my colleague, is in the chat. Thank you again, Bernard, for that. Thank you, Subankar, for your support all the day. I hope you have enjoyed the last two sessions. I think everything we can tell about the BMS platform is fantastic and useful. And also, we want to make it easy for you. That is the secret for this tool. So many integrators is using this because it's not complicated. It's only sophisticated. So gives you a lot of added value and a lot of possibilities to your project. But it's time to do the last to explain the last content of today. We have some missing things from the last session, but it's a good thing to start with these examples from an XLogic. I will open the web manager again so we can take a look on that pending example that we have. So let me open it again and show it to you, because there was a question that one of our colleagues, Oleg, as far as I remember, was you, Oleg, asked about the possibility to send with a Telegram a value, including the value. And that's a good example. So we will take that requirement that is a well exercise to do. So, but for that, let me remind you what was the example and how it was considered not finished. It was conditional event. So you may remember we have a event. It was in the test folder. Yes, it was a conditional event. Okay, so we have here. And this conditional event was, for example, telling us if something happened because the actions are not here, but maybe because I move it, but we can do it now complete. It was a power aerotherm, the example. If the aerotherm power is higher than 100 watts, this is the condition. So we had to create the condition. It was done yesterday, a condition that it was very easy to configure here. This is the register that is giving me that information about the power of the aerotherm. And we have 100 watts as the reference. Okay, so there is one interesting thing also, because I didn't mention, but this could be an item also. So it could be an item, so it could be a variable reference. That could also interesting to mention, because it's not always 100. It could be in a different time of the day. It could be different. So that's a good point to tell now. And then the actions that we currently know how to do. And I will create it again so we can check how to do this, is, for example, a Telegram message aerotherm high, for example. So the X command to use here, we had the messenger. So we can send an email, send a Telegram message, it's okay. But as you mentioned in your question, Oleg, and we appreciate so much that, we only can write a fixed text here. So we can only say power is higher than 100 watts aerotherm power. That's a real example, aerotherm power. In this case, we put a delay about this. Well, no, we put the delay in the condition, not in the sending. We can also put a delay in the sending Telegram, so it's also possible to do this with a delay. But it's better to put the delay in the condition itself, so it's better evaluated. Okay, so we have this message, and we select this message as the very first action to do when this happens. When the condition is met, this is the very first time. When it was not met, it was false and becomes true. So this is the flank. We have this simple message, okay, the aerotherm is high. We can also create an action for the message that the aerotherm power is okay again. So we can do it here directly. We have one example that we can copy and paste. That is fantastic because we can do it on the fly also. And say this is okay. Telegram message aerotherm okay. And just change this, for example. But the question is, how can we create or use an XLogic for these intermediate cases? When I have, for example, to know, okay, I know it's high, but I need to monitor these values. So because even it's dangerous, imagine that is not this example, it's a temperature or whatever. So I need to monitor this and receive telegrams continuously to know if, imagine that is the temperature of your living room. Higher than 25, it's a message, but it could be 100 Celsius degree if you have a problem with a fire or whatever. It's necessary in that cases, for example, to know or to monitor that value. So we need, of course, to select an XLogic, but this XLogic as part of an action is not existing. So the question is, how can we create a new action? So let me show you. The actions are X commands. So we have to go here, open the XLogic engine. We can open different instances, so it's not a problem if you want to compare even different XLogic is possible, but I will close this. Okay, and we will create a new one that is a new command. That's it. The first thing to define is what we need, which input, which parameters, which outputs may need. It's not a problem if we need something in after that definition, but it's interesting. Maybe we need to compare a value, for example. It's not the case because that is done in the comparison. I just need, and it's really the only thing I need is to send a Telegram message including values. So what I maybe need is the value that we want to monitor. Okay, I can change the name, value to monitor as an input. Okay, I can put it as an input. Maybe one parameter to consider is the destination. So I don't have to choose anymore because I have to define everything here inside. The action is just to select what I want to do. So I can also create a parameter as the destination. And in this case, look, this is really, really powerful. There's a lot of things to select as inputs or parameters or outputs. For example, a messenger profile Telegram is possible to select. So in the action selection, you will see that it is a parameter. Just select the profile in Telegram, so you don't have to do complex things, because this is possible because we can select it from the beginning. And what to do at the end? Do we need some output item? In principle, no, because I just want with this block to create one specific message with value. But we want just we need the value, the input value to monitor that we are selecting an item ID. So this is typical, but remember, there is a lot of things we can do. We can do a lot of things, even with visualization, with messenger, with schedules, with alarms, with manager elements. So we can also combine this. There is a lot of examples showing you this. Of course, we have to give a name for this block. I will include it in a folder called training. Why not? So you put training dot and the name of your command. It will be included in a folder called training. So that's good. So Telegram value, and that's it. If it's not used, it's normal color. If it's used, you can see that it's in red color, for example. But in principle, this is not used. So that's it. This is my definition. I need one input value and I need one parameter to define, for example, who is the destination of that message. And what I have to do is just include a command So there is a command. There is not so many possibilities here, but the possibilities are inside every of these commands. But you can insert a command, you can insert a block of commands that can include a lot of commands inside. So this is possible to do. So you can do several things in the XLogic, so it's not a problem. And then if you want to create a block of commands that includes 3 things to do, you just have to concatenate it and define inside what we're going to do. This is not the case. It's just an example, and I will delete this. It's also possible, and I will show you, to have a if then else block. So if something happens that I have to define here, then I will execute this command. So this is possible also. And if not, maybe I can execute a different thing. Okay. This is one possibility. So, or maybe directly, if it's not accomplishing, I just finish. I do nothing. And this is also a possibility. But this, and I mean, if I open this if then else, then I have a lot of possibilities. Here is when, for example, I can do the comparison about the power and about the power, about the value, the reference value, or whatever. Here is where I can do this. So you have a lot of possibilities. Comparison, for example, if the value is greater or equal, so you can compare one input value with a reference value that could be also parameterized. Whatever, it is possible to do this. But this is not necessary. I mentioned it's not necessary because I am just creating a X command to send the message, because the condition is not evaluated here. It has been evaluated in the conditional event definition. So you don't need to do that complexity here. It's possible and you can do it, but it's not necessary. And in this example, it's not really necessary. I just have to send a telegram and that's it. So this is a very single question. Just one thing, one command to do. But if you need some more complexity and you can open, there is a lot of possibilities to open here, a lot of different examples. I can do it opening another instance of the XLogic. So you can take a look on all these examples, for example, whatever, randomly, and you can really understand how this works with all these examples. And this is really fantastic. It's very easy. It's possibility to do whatever analyze whatever of these examples. Very easy, no problem. But we will continue with our own example now. So we have one thing to do. I can write a comment here. If you press the comment, you can say this is a Telegram with value, for example. Okay. And if you open the command, then the magic comes. Then you have all these possibilities to use. And there is a lot of things we can use. In this case, I will go directly to Messenger. So I just need to send a telegram. Okay, that's it. But you have a lot of things you can do. You can set or write values. You can read items. You can set properties. That's fantastic. You can change a property of a value. You can use variables, local variables. I will show you some examples afterwards. So you can set properties for a branch, for an event in the event engine. So that means the event is your web manager with the events and all these things. You can read values in KNX. You can do whatever with the logging. You can invoke a Lua command. So it's really nice, because if you are not able to write scripts, because it happens like me, you are not good writing scripting, you can use the commands here in XLogic. So it's fantastic. You can do a lot of things, a Lua script or whatever. You can work with messages. You can use our messenger, tweets, emails, whatever. You can work with data, with sockets. Oof, that's fantastic to use a HTTP, open a socket, close a socket, or whatever. So that's really fantastic. And the X commands again, run and X command again, whatever. So it's really a lot of possibilities that you can use in the commands. Okay, so this is huge tool to do with no limits, any conditions, any logic blocks. And there is a lot of examples we can apply, but let me focus on this small example so we can show how it works completely. Okay, we have very single thing, XLogic command that is called send telegram. Okay, so we need just to indicate what is the profile. So the channel we will use for doing so. Okay, this is the profile. So the profile is a parameter. As far as I remember, I create a parameter with that. So we can select, and we don't have to write specifically, because there are two options. You can put here a string directly with the text BMS. Because why? Because if you remember, I have my module messenger telegram with the definition, oh, sorry, nettext BMS is the name of the profile. Okay, so we can do this way. So you can put here exactly that, and it will work for sure. But if you want to do this a bit more complex or a bit more powerful, you can define a parameter as I did before with that, if you remember, with that role messenger profile for Telegram. Okay, so if you do this, you are creating a bit more complex thing. So you just have to select with this the parameter. If you have several parameters, you have to select. There is only one. So it will be more powerful, because if I have in my BMS different profiles, I can select to whom I am sending that telegram. In this simple question, there's only one destination, that is my example, my Telegram desktop, desktop application in my computer, in order to show you the example. But in the real world, I have here this working very hard. So this is the only example. So this is the only profile I have here. But in the real project, maybe you have 40 people in groups or whatever that could be destination of that Telegram. So this is giving you much more powerful, much more power to your installation. So this is the thing. And then the message, and that's it. The interesting thing is the message. I will spend a lot of space to write the message. Let me delete this, because a message is a text, but it's a text with different things. So a text, and then I hide the comments, and I am using the functions for this. I have something related to strings. Yes, strings. I need to add multi-string block. So this is a block that you can add also several, where you can put text, another text, another text, another text. So you can put whatever kind of text and concatenate text to send the message. And this is the result of that. Maybe if you need to add several, it's just doing this. So I need to add strings. If they are two, you just select the single add string. If it's several, again, you can do this. So it's not a problem. You are concatenating this with this, or whatever amount of that elements you may need. I think I can manage with only one of these multi-string. So let's do it, or let's try to do it with only one. So what do we need now? We need to put here texts. So some of these texts will be fixed, some of these texts will be dynamic. For example, the value I want to monitor. But we can start with some polite text, so with like hello, the item, and I will now indicate which is the item ID. So which is the item ID that we are monitoring. So we want to indicate this, and we have here in out all this information. So we have my item ID, okay, the item, which is the item ID, the value to monitor. So this is the item ID, so it's the text. This is the item ID. So I am now adding this fixed text, hello, the item whatever item, value to monitor. So we have to select it. And here I have to comment something before I follow up. The item we are monitoring is Modbus. Aerotherm is this. As far as I remember, this is the item. Okay, but the item ID, in fact, is not clear for me. This is the item ID. So is this item interesting to put, or is maybe more interesting to use the description of the item? For example, maybe this is not a complete description. Maybe the description should be power aerotherm. It could be better to have the power aerotherm. But in my opinion, if I select the description, it will be much more clear than this, because the item ID is not clear for me. Another option, and this is just, I'm just commenting, another option is to have it as an alias with a better description of that, because the name of the alias can be power aerotherm in bats. So the name of the item would be much better than just taking the raw value of that item, or even a property of that is the description. So this is just a reflection about what I'm doing, because if I put this, okay, it's a Modbus power tag one holding register with this name. This is the item ID. But for me, this item ID is not clear. It's better, option one, to use the description. That is possible, and I will do this now. So I will show you how to take a property of one item and use it for the text. So not the item ID, but the property of that item ID. And the second possibility, and I think it's even more logic, is to use an alias for this item and give it the name that you should use for the texts or for whatever. So as I do not have that alias created here, because I don't have anything related to the energy management in the aliases, maybe it's a mistake, maybe it's because I don't want to do it, I will try to get that from that property. So I will not use the item ID, but I will use a description of that. And this property has a number. This number is this number, 101. So I need to know this number in order to take this. So coming back to my definition, instead of the input item ID, I will not use this. I will use a property of that item, but it's possible. In this branch, I have a branch with property values, so I can take that property value. I need the item ID, okay, and I need to define here what is the property ID, and it's a number I mentioned, 101. So that's it. So you will get the description of that. Okay. So now the text will be, hello, the item, and the item is power total in watts. So this is the text. Maybe it could be better also to define better this Modbus data point definition, and why not to put here aerotherm, for example. It will be the best option. So we can do it, but it's not necessary to understand what I mean. But I don't want to restart the server because it takes a lot of time. I don't want to lose this minute for this. But you will see that the item ID is not the text. We can do both things, no problem. We can copy and do both things. We can say, okay, hello, the item, and I put the item. I add here with description, and I add it here, and then I put here the description, and then I will add a string that says has currently a value of, and then I will get the value. I have the item as an input. So I have here, I will mark it with the focus. We have inputs, outputs, parameters. So inputs, we can get the item ID, or we can get also the value. That is also a property. So we can also get a property that is the value of the item. So, but it's directly here, so it's not necessary. But this is the same. So you select the input, the value to monitor, and you put that thing here. So this is the value. And I repeat, I could do this as a I could do this as a property. The question here is that this value is not exactly, because it's multiplied 10 times, maybe. So what to do? Power is multiplied 10 times. No, this is the handle. No, it's okay. The power is okay. The only value that is multiplied 1,000 times is the energy. So the power is direct. Okay, the value, and I can force it because let me start the aerotherm so we can check it. So it should start consuming something now, and we will see the value if it's higher than we expect. No, it's okay. It's in bats. It's perfect. It's in bats. It should trigger the alarm. Now it's going down again, but it will increase. It's inverter, so it's modulating the consumption. So fantastic. So coming back to my definition, this is the way that we can define the input item value, but it will be, and I will now do something magic also. This is a value with maybe 10 or more decimal parts. So it's not okay. I need to represent this as a text. It's not good to put directly a value. So I need to convert this to a text. So I will do it now. Conversion is also another branch. So I can convert to a string, whatever value. So I'm converting to string. And the best thing is that I can also indicate a format. So it could be possible to indicate here a format like this. I think this is an integer with 0 decimals. If I put here, it could be 2. Bernard, can you check if I am doing right with this before I test? Because this is the format, the percentage formats. If I don't do it well, I think it's percentage dot 2f, but I'm just trying to remember that. No problem. I can check in another example that if it's, I will check. I will check before. I will check, and we can continue. It's just a second. Not this. 1 second. I did it several times. This is when you last a lot of time to find something that you have done many times. Okay, let me check. Yes, I was right. It's correct. It's 2 decimals, for example. That's good. That's correct. Doesn't mind because maybe it has no decimal, so maybe 1 decimal and good for all. So, and the last thing is to put the suffix of this, the unit, the suffix item unit. Well, it's not indicated here, but we could also, if you have the unit as a property, you can also get as a property. But okay, it's one example. We can do it with only one fixed thing, so it's possible to put just a string and that's all. But and now this is finished. So the question is that, well, maybe without hello, the item whatever with description whatever has currently a value of whatever VATs. That's XLogic X command that we are now checking. So I will check. Seems that is okay. And then I compile and save. Close this. I always do the checking also here for something remaining to delete or whatever. And I have my, remember, training.telegram underscore value created. So let's exit. And what we have to do is just use it. But before using it, it's important, come to tools and load this X command, because if you don't load it, you will have it not available for you. So it's important to go here and search for training, Telegram value. This is here. So, okay, I open it. So now it's loaded. It's loaded and we can use it in our web manager. So now we will create an action that is special Telegram message aerotherm including the value, for example. And here is where we can go here and try to find it from training folder, my Telegram value. And what happens? The things that happens is that we can select the value to monitor, and my value to monitor is from Modbus, my power tag for aerotherm with my holding register specifically for the power, and which is the destination device for this. And this is a parameter that I don't have to write here a text. I don't have to remember. I just select from all the profiles created. So saving, okay, and selecting this for my example. So I save this conditional event and we will check it. We will check it. So checking this is very simple. We just have to show you this window. Aerotherm power is higher than 100 watts. And this is what is happening when you have the power again and again and again coming with the value. So thank you, Bernard. We got it with that definition in XLogic is this way. So fantastic. We have this. I will turn off the aerotherm, so you will see that when you have no power, it's off now. It takes some time to react. And then when we have less than, it's now 244, so it's in a few seconds, you will see that it's less than 100, and then the message is different. When it's less than 100, is the condition is not true, it's false, and the message is different. So I think maybe next will be normal one. It takes some times to go down and stop consuming, please. But I stop at the RFM, so it takes some time maybe to finish the processes or whatever, but it will be in question of seconds to do this. So a bit of patience, and then we see the result. And then this example is finished, and we can also show you 2 more examples now. Okay. Well, I have two. I think I have 2 of these examples, so I have double RFM power and power RFM. We did it twice, but it's okay. It's working fine. So as at the end, we could answer the Oleg's question. Thank you, Oleg, for that, because it would a good example for us to show how we can enrich that processes and that information using our own or creating our own XLogic. So fantastic. Thank you. And to finish, I will show you another examples for XLogic, because XLogic is very rich and you can do a lot of things. So I will show you, for example, first I open it and then I explain what is the aim of this. Let me try to search diff dates, for example. It was, it is, I will explain. Opening the knowledge base, and I show you what is the aim of this, and we can check. Okay, knowledge base. So diff date okay, it's not in the indexed, but if I write Lua, I will get this. Okay. Lua scripting, time operation, date and time processes. This is fantastic. Diff date, that's it. Okay, this diff date is a command for Lua that is able to calculate, to subtract one date object from another. So giving you the result will be the result of the operation, okay? The only thing to define in Lua is, okay, I have the date, the first operand, the second operand, and the unit you want the result, the operand. So if you want to know the time difference between 2 dates, it could be calculated using this block. And I explain you why did I need to create this block, because one of my customers asked me, okay, I have an electrical vehicle charging station and I want to show to my customer the time that a vehicle is being being charged. And this time could be days, even days, hours, minutes, and seconds. So the question was, okay, and this is a real example. And I thought, how to do this? And I said, it's not complicated if I use this diff date. How to integrate a Lua command in XLogic using a specific block for this. But the question first is very simple. I just have the init time. So it was it's a timestamp where when the status of the charges becomes to true, that timestamp is a property. So we get this time as a fixed value, and the variable is the now parameter. You may remember, if not, I mention it again, that we have an item in today. This is the item that is giving me exactly the time, and it's changing every second. So the first operand will be this, and the second operand will be that fixed value taken from the properties, the timestamp, the local timestamp, in fact, that is fix it when the charge starts. And the calculation is done like this. It's very simple. I only have one init time as a initial ingredient for me, the input, and the output is the time transcurred in string. It's a string. How to do this then? So I need just to calculate the result in days, in hours, in minutes, and in seconds. How? It's very simple. Using a command that is called Lua function. Okay, this is a function that is called Lua function, where I am comparing. The Lua function is this definition, this name, nxa.diffdate. So you can use whatever Lua function with this block. So this is the way to use Lua in a simple way for me. The most simple way to do this scripting is using blocks, because you can invoke a Lua function. This is the function name, and the ingredients are only three. First operand, the time, the now, that is also a resource here. The second operand is the fixed value that is an input for us. And the result, if you put D, will get the result in days. And how to write the result? I can use also local variables. So this is also very interesting. I can write the result in a local variable. So I am storing that value in a local variable. That's fantastic. And then I can copy paste exactly the same, changing only this, changing that now I want to result in hours, and I want to write the local result here in a different local variable. So doing this for hours, for minutes with n, for minutes is the n, not the m is for months, n for minutes. And in seconds, even, we can get that local variables that we have now to process. And this was the bit more complicated thing to do, but it's very easy to understand. I have days, I have hours, minutes, and seconds. But imagine if the car has been charged in 3 days and 8 hours, if I get the result in days, it's 3, but if I get the result in hours, it's 80. So I need to calculate the rests for this operation. So the question is not complex. It's just to think 30 seconds. If I multiply the days 24 times, and I subtract the total amount of hours minus that days multiplied 24 for 24, I get the result, the rest. I convert to string this value with 0 decimals with this format, and then I get the hours. It happens the same with the minutes. I have to multiply 60 times the hours, subtract all the minutes minus that value. It's a different way to do this, because you can also get the module of the operation and all these things. But this was an example I wanted, I enjoy doing. So it's a good example. I convert to string, and I put the days with the text days, comma, hours, comma, minutes, comma, seconds. And then I write this to the output item that is a string. And the only thing we need to do is to test this. So this is possible to test. I will test it, and then we can go ahead with the rest of the things to explain today. We have half an hour for the rest, but it's interesting. So this is the curso.diffdates. Curso is training in Spanish, but I will also invoke it. So how to do this test? I will do it here in the studio, because you may remember that we have the X command event definition, so we can define X command event definition. So I will insert a new definition, test diff dates, for example, for you to see it. In this case, I will not execute it every input change. I will execute it every time, every 1 second, for example. So you will have a counter of time every second, more or less, to do this. And then I have to select my XLogic that is inside Curso, diff dates. Okay, and I will select the initial time. Okay, for the initial time, I haven't created any virtual item, whatever, but I have my var gifts 100 date items for free, so I can use, for example, the first one. And the time transcurred is a string. So again, I will use the first string to write the result here, for example. That's it. It's what we can do. I just have to save, and I just have to test. So, for example, the date, if you want to write the format of this day, I can take it from today because it's very easy to copy this value, for example. So the format is not a problem for us. We just write down. And imagine that we want to know, we started the training the 13th of December at 0900, more or less, 00. So if I write that date, and I check it, you see here the result. So the XLogic is working perfectly. 2 days, 5 hours, 49 minutes, and 53, 55, 56, 56, 58. Sometimes 1 second is missing, but it's working nice. Even we can force, I will put now my birth date. I was born the 1st of March, long time ago. My mother says that it was at 5. So even if it's a long time ago, it's calculating perfectly that I have been 18,551 days, 21 hours, or whatever. So you can put here up to 1900, the 1900. Before it's not possible because computers are not ready for data before that date. It's not possible to calculate, but it's enough. It's enough. So this was a different example, and you have a lot of examples that you can check, and you can also invoke that examples here in the XLogic Xcommand event definitions, or maybe use it in the web manager. So that's fantastic. And now, to finish today's session, we need to deal about the clustering configuration, and main backup configuration, and a NetX Cloud Portal. That's 3 things that are very, very interesting. I will start with the main and backup. I will start with main and backup, showing you also what is this information from the knowledge base, because it's interesting to understand how to do this. So main and backup architecture. So what happens when you have a big project is that sometimes you need more reliability, more professional solutions. So you may need always to have a BMS server working. So this is very important. I will show you a picture of a real building that we have a BMS inside. So let me try to find it here. It's in Spain, in Madrid, and this is an example of building that is interesting to have one really professional solution. So this is a big building. In this building, we have main and backup servers with about 60,000 data points on it. And there is a third server only for the database. So imagine that this is really, really reliable. It's working. This BMS was selected by the owner of the building because the previous softwares were not working well, because we are now controlling 2,312 shutters. All these windows have shutters automatically, depending on the position of the sun, and the solution was solved with main and backup solution and a shutter control system that we will talk about tomorrow at the end of the training. So this is working perfectly every time, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. So it's very important for big projects to have this main and backup solution. This means that you will have two licenses, two servers, two computers, or maybe two virtual servers, but with two licenses. From the commercial point of view, the backup server is not the same price as the mains. It costs half. So with 1.5 the cost of a standalone server, you will have a complete main backup. So it is 50% discounted the backup server for this. But the most important thing for us is just to see that it's working fine. So you will find all this information in the knowledge base. Okay, you know that there is all this information explaining how it works. But the question is for me to show you how it works in the real. So I will connect for that to two different VMS that I have at my home, main and backup. They are both working at home, so I will show you. I think I showed you yesterday this one. This is the main server. Okay. And now I will show you the backup server. I am accessing using Google Desktop for this, but both are different computers, and you will see how this works. This is the backup. Main and backup. Let me maybe make it a bit smaller, both, because it should be interesting to show both in the same screen, but it's not a problem. I will try to maximize the one that I am using. This is the main and backup servers, both. So as you can see, and I will maximize now, but one is working and the other is in standby. We will see this now in the definition and in the item tree, because you may remember that there was one specific, and I will show you, branch here, the server branch, that it was specifically telling us if one PMS is active, or sorry, online. This is true, so this server is online and is active, not in standby. And in this case, this server is defined as main server. It's true. It's not, of course, defined as a backup server and has a redundant server connected. This is different than the server we have been using. This is my server for the training, and if you remember, it was a standalone server, so I am online, I am active, but I am not a main server, I am not a backup server, and of course, I do not have any redundant server connected. The difference is that. So the main server has definition of as a main, not as a backup, and has a redundant server connected. What happened with the backup server? Let me show you the other option, the other server. This is the backup server, is a server that is online. It's online, but it's not active. It's in a standby because the value of this item is false. Why? Well, because it's a main server. No, it's a backup server. Yes, and has a redundant server connected. That is also very important. This item, I use this item to monitor any possible issue in any of the server, because as you may understand, I can monitor this item and trigger an alarm and send me an email or a telegram if this value is going to false. Because if this value is going to false, this means that the main server has a problem, and vice versa. If I can monitor this item in the main server, sorry, the main server is this, and the redundant server is false, is because the backup server has any problem. So I can receive a telegram immediately and I can check what is happening with this main or this backup server, just monitoring this. This is defined in the web manager and I can show you a bit later. But now what I'm going to do is to force a stop of the main server. So I will put this server in very small size because it's better for you just to press this stop. So you will see I press stop in the main server, and you will see how the backup server is starting to work in a few seconds. So look the system messages, synchronizing database, connecting to this or that metering module, whatever, and then we will start to see a lot of traffic here. Main server is stopping yet. LAMP synchronization done, whatever. So the backup server is starting to work now. A message has been sent to me because the main server is not working. So what's happening? If I go to server, now what happens? I am online, I am active. This is the backup server, as you can see in the top of the screen. And there is no redundant server connected now. Something is happening with the main server. Okay, so if I start again the main server, if I start again the main server, this will become to false when the other is active, and this will become to true when the redundant server is again connected. So it's working really nice. It's starting again, so take some seconds. Now it's again taking over the control of all the things. Okay, so it's again active. And I will receive a telegram or an email telling me that the server is again reconnected. So it's an email I can show you now. I have received first this message. That the main server is disconnected. So I've received this. Check main server. Okay, for example. And then what second example we can do, vice versa. We can force the backup, simulate that the backup server has some problem. So I can show you the items for the main. Okay. And stop the backup server. And there is a message that is going to come that the backup server is disconnected. So you can see here that there is not a redundant server connected now, and I get a message that the backup server, redundant server, is disconnected. That's very, very interesting to have this. But the question is, how can we get all this configuration? So it's really complex to do this configuration, and the answer is totally no. It's really, really easy to do this. Let me put my backup server to work again. So you can see it's working again. And you will see in a few seconds that this redundant server connected item is again becomes to true. So, and I am I should receive a message, but is something happened with this? No problem. Okay, now it's true again. So how to do the configuration for the main and backup? So let me show you. It's very easy. when you have two servers connected, you have to include exactly the same project on it. So the workspace, if you have it, develop it with your computer, you just have to import it here, and in the other computer exactly the same. You need the same license, logically, because it makes sense that you need the same data points on both. So you should have the same license on both. And the last thing to do is very simple. You just have to come to modules, to come to core, and there is a window for main and backup configuration. So as you can see here, I have to select active main backup, yes, and I just have to put the IP address of the first and the second, the main and the backup. It's the only thing you need to do. The rest of the thing is automatically done by the system. In the backup server, I will show you now the backup server. The backup server is a module core main backup configuration, exactly the same IP, and this for the main and for the backup. Of course, this is the IP address that you have just to check in your computer. So if I do ipconfig, this is the address 175. Fantastic. This is the address to put here, no problem. And this is the only thing you need to do. There is one specific thing to know, and this is very, very interesting. What happens with the web manager? This is the question. When you have the web manager like this, and you do any change on the web manager, this change is automatically synchronized when you start the backup server, and you don't have to do it in both places. You do it in one of the places, and you can just synchronize it in the other. And this is the example, I think here, yes, events, main backup, the backup fails. This is the telegram, the warning I was mentioned. So the condition is when the redundant server is disconnected. I will show you. So there's a double condition because it has be the item is redundant server is false and is main server is true. So when you are the main server and the redundant server is disconnected, then it's the failure is in the backup, and vice versa. And the other is, the condition is when the redundant server is the main fails. When the main fails is because the redundant server is disconnected and we are the backup server. So we are backup server. So this is one example to test. Maybe there's a different way to do this, but I did this example and it's working fine. So that's very important when you have complex installations. Big installation, more than 5,000, for example, or 10,000 data points, is very interesting to think on the backup server to duplicate the number of servers, because if you have to stop for maintenance, for updating, for any change, the real VMS, you are stopping maybe a lot of processes, a lot of things. So you may think on a hot backup solution like this. So next thing to show, because we have my 3 servers here. Next thing to show you is the cloud. The cloud portal. The cloud portal is a web page. You need a subscription to that. It's a new service that the NetX Automation can offer you. So I will show you NetX Cloud Portal. Web page is this. It's a web page, but this is really fantastic. You have a user and a password. So of course, you need to contact my colleagues to get this. And then you can have any of the projects, any of the servers that of your customers or whatever, you can have information about this. So you can see, for example, I have these 3 servers. My one server, the server of my computer, this one, the one that we have been using during the training is that. So imagine that I am accessing, or I can be accessing from New Zealand to my servers, and the servers are located in a specific part of the world. In this case, this is my region, Asturias. Very nice if you want to visit us. We are very nice weather and sightseeing in the north of Spain. Well, it's rainy sometimes, but it's green. And I live here, so this is located here, and you have a lot of information. So, for example, it's online. It's a standalone server. It's in Spanish near Villaviciosa. Well, it was a different location, but it's near. Okay, that place. This is the number of my license and the time and date, timestamp. So you have info about all these things. The database is okay, the web manager is okay, the web server, and we are accessing remotely. Remember, so it's remotely. I am locally now connected locally, but this is a cloud. It's a cloud for this activities, all the things that happen to your server in the last times. Okay, the item tree, the item gateways, the most important items for you. Some backup that you can also do. You can create a backup. For your server, so you can have some security backups for this. You can also check the logs. Why not? And you can remotely access to the web manager, access to the visualization. So it has to be online, the service, but you can remotely have access to this. So if you select, for example, the main server, you can see it's in the same location, more or less. We did some backups in the past, so I can show you the backup. I did a backup yesterday, so you can see here, and you can also download the backup of the server with the log files, whatever. So, and remotely, it's possible to connect remotely to this server. So I can open the web manager, for example, for this server, and it will be open in a different, and it's remote, it's a cloud connection to this web manager. So you don't need the special VPN connections and all these things. So it's possible to access remotely to the web manager because this is a remote connection to this. So that's also fantastic solution. You can see this is a main server and this is a backup server, so this is in standby. And we can also create groups, so you can see only the servers related to this group, wherever. So you can filter by group, and so on, so on, so on. So all of the server has a lot of possibilities. Of course, warning and the web manager and web server is not active because it's in a standby. So you can take a look on all the things that happens to this element or whatever. So it's fantastic. You can create backups, you can see the logs, and you can access remotely if it's connected, of course. The map with the resume of all these servers is also here included. Administration for your organization, your accounts, whatever. So it's really, the cloud portal is seriously, it's really one of the best things you can have if you are working with NetEx. It's really interesting. So maybe if you have 100 servers, it is mandatory to have this kind of tools because you have everything to access to your servers, to give service to your customers, creating backups or whatever, and you can get money for the customers for this. So you can also understand that it has a small fee for this service, but it is really interesting for you. And this is the NetEx Cloud portal. So I think it's interesting to take in account. And the last for today, I think, is the clustering. So clustering is very interesting, and I will do it now. I will try to connect to my PMS. So you may remember that we did some cluster recognition some days ago, Monday, I think, maybe, when we integrate OPC servers. And we did it in a module called cluster, and there was two possibilities. You can integrate VNet devices and OPCDA devices, OPCDA servers. VNet connection is exactly for BMS platform, BMS server, maybe also, to connect different servers in the same big server, in the same cluster. So this means that imagine that you have 10 big buildings and you need one BMS in each of the buildings, but you would also like to have a super BMS for the supervision of the critical things of that buildings, or maybe for all the items of that buildings. So this is the cluster concept. So imagine that this server is the main server. Okay, so we will start exploring, in this case, defining a new server, but a VNet server in this case. So this is BMS home, for example, and I have to put here the IP address of my computer. Sorry, 50. Description, the BMS home of building 1. And there is a password and a PIN. Why? Because it's encrypted and it's protected with a password and a PIN. This password and PIN has to be defined in your server, main server. Let me show you. This is the web manager, so I will close this web manager. Where's the core server? Has a definition of that server configuration with a password and a PIN. This is the password and this is the PIN. By default, 1234. So of course, for security reasons, you should change this from these default values to a different one. But 1234 is the information I need. So let's go to my server and let's put here that sophisticated password and PIN in order to get connection to my BMS. So now I have to explore it. It's important the firewall settings for this, because maybe I get some issue. I think not. I think it's going to work well. But the firewall settings has to be configured. So if you have, for example, public connection to the network and not private connection to the network, maybe you have to activate that firewall settings. It's lasting a bit because I have thousands of items in my BMS, but it will be in seconds integrated. So you will find a list of thousands of elements that we can select to integrate. So, and this is the last thing I will show you today. So fantastic, because we are on time. So it takes some time. I hope it will not crash. Computer is a bit tired now, but close something. Close this. So it can finish it. It's a lot of for my computer today. Oh, here it is. So this is the list of all the items I have in my computer. Let me check. Select all and include all the selected. So it's 13,377 items. If you want, I can test to open it now in simulation. I will do in simulation, not to force all the drivers. I will last some time to start. But you will see that I have access to the other BMS. So if I have 10 buildings, I can do this process and add all these items to my server. 13,000 data points. Where are they going? To the real items of my license or to the virtual items of my license? Let's check after restarting. So it's a good question, because it's also interesting from a commercial point of view. So I think we have to wait a bit more than usual because of that. But it's worthwhile. So at the end, we will see that in the same BMS, I have several. I have the possibility to have several BMS. So that's the best thing. That it's lasting a bit because it's several thousands of data points to create now, and my computer looks to be a bit tired after all these sessions. So, come on. Maybe I should select only a few, but it's the ambition of showing you what are all the possibilities of this. Now, thank you. Yes, it is module. No, cluster, sorry, VNet. This is my BMS home with all my items. Look, for example, I have now access to the XIO, for example, this directly to my KNX items, for example. KNX IP, that's fantastic. And have a lot of items here, so I can also control the lights of my house, even if it's a different server. And the best thing is that you are monitoring also your own server. So it's a supervisor of the supervisors itself. So you can also trigger alarms only with these items. So is a BMS stopping? I know, because I have a master BMS that is also supervising everything. It's possible to interact with the different elements. So it's possible to, for example, go to the group address that you may need. A lot of things in my house. Yes, I know. 11. So you can, if you know the group address, you can go here and say, okay, this is an item that is to turn on the aerotherm. So you can do it here, so you can see that it's working. So it's possible to interact with the servers from this server. Because the thing is that you are sending the order to the other server, and this is the other server that sends the order to the field. So it's really interesting. Yeah. And of course, if you use the aliases are here. So it's very easy. HBAC, for example, general. And you have it in the alias is much better because you have everything clear, clarify, and the different information is also possible to force a red value of that or whatever. So it's really nice. Okay. So that was all for today. Thank you very much again for your attention. I hope you have enjoyed that, all these functionalities. Tomorrow is the date for the visualization, so we have time to explain several things about visualization, and I think you will enjoy more even than today, because visualization is the nice result of all the things we can do. We have done all this during all these days. So using the variables, the concept, creating a small visualization that can be used 500 times for a hotel, for example, all these kind of things are really fantastic. So I invite you to inscribe yourself in this last 3 sessions, and I promise that you will enjoy a lot this. So thank you very much and see you tomorrow. Bye.